This is Popular Front, a podcast focused on the niche details of modern warfare and underreported conflict with me, Jake Hanrahan. Today we're speaking to Ukrainian journalist Illia Ponomarenko. He is a reporter with the Kiev Independent, and he's going to be talking to us about the very tense situation on Ukraine's border right now. You've probably heard people are quite worried that Russia is about to invade Ukraine. They've amassed more than 100,000 troops on the border. At 3 different areas they've put armoured vehicles down. It's not looking good. Let's listen to what he's got to say. If you like what we're doing here at Popular Front, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/popularfront. Last time we spoke about how Russia at the start of the year were building up troops, and then they kind of left and everyone was a bit puzzled. Nobody really knew what was happening. Now, though, it's looking a lot more serious. They've kind of done the same thing again and then some. And everyone's talking, is there going to be a war? Is Russia going to, is the war going to get hotter, right? It's already a war. But, everyone's saying, is Russia going to invade? What's going on? Maybe explain to us what is happening right now, because things are looking quite dodgy.
Well, you were mentioning, the first crisis in this year and what we have now. Everybody was puzzled, and yes, right now, the situation might feel even more dangerous. But in general, it's yes and no. So yes, everybody is afraid now. I mean, in terms of media, politicians, everybody is scared. To be honest, yeah, we have this. It's the second time in a year that we have this war scare. It's the second time in the year that I keep getting messages from my friends, asking me, "Hey man, do you think there's going to be a big war again?" So, but with that said, we do have this doomsday feeling again in Kiev. I mean, once again, we have the story that the Kiev authorities, they checked the air bomb shelters in the city again. So we do have this doomsday atmosphere. So everybody is a bit scared in this regard, a bit nervous, I would even say. But on the other side, what we have now is, it's like I said, it's the second time we have the situation in this year alone. So back in the day, the crisis was far less clear for us. That back in the day, in April, in May, we had so many emotions. Everybody was so confused that we were actually diving into this, panic porn, something like that. So we were clearly falling short of, rational thinking, and we had a lot of emotions that we should have put aside, to be honest. Right now, it's the second time, and, even though it's acute, it's sharp. But right now, in general audience, general thinking suggests more rational, calculations about this behind this. So I see this vibe, this in Ukrainian media, in expert community, among politicians. So right now it's far less emotional and more about thinking, what's calculating rationale behind this. So right now we are a bit more emotionally, prepared to this.
Right, give us an idea of what's actually happened, like numbers. How many troops are they put on the border? What kind of equipment are they bringing in? What's going on?
Yeah, this is the funny story about the numbers, because I keep getting questions from media outlets, from experts from the West, and they are kind of confused because for instance, defense minister says Russians currently have around and in Ukrainian occupied territories something like 95,000 troops, like all combined arms military force. So with air superiority, obviously, but at the same time, for instance, the Ukrainian military intelligence have their own statements and say we have more than 100,000 troops concentrated and ready to attack. So there's a confusion behind this, and and meanwhile we have media outlets saying that Russians could end up having more than 175,000 troops ready to be thrown in battle. So yes, what we have in general. So my explanation is that it's Ukraine, it's a mess. So sometimes even between government officials, between different agencies, we have this confusion in terms of numbers. They do not even have like a separate, just a single standalone statement of what's happening. So, but in general, I would say that yes, what we're having right now is the concentration of nearly 1,100 troops, combined arms, concentrated mostly in Russian territories that are close to Ukraine, for instance, the Voronezh Oblast, and also the Russian regions close to Belarus, and also Crimea. As far as we know, the Russians have deployed 8 additional battalion tactical groups to Crimea, and so it's mostly about lots of pretty suspicious activities and the buildup of conventional military forces close to our borders. But at the same time, what's really important about this is that, and many Western experts do see this, is that we have this tendency of seeing these military movements being so demonstrative, being so in your face, being so open to to intelligence, to media attention. And besides, as many Western experts say, what they see in these Russian maneuvers falls short of many important indications of an attack being prepared. For instance, they do not mobilize airborne forces or artillery at the level of brigade, division, and up to that. So they do not, for instance, create any strategic reserves that would be required in the case of all-out attack. So so it's really about about a lot of emotions, a lot of about the war scare, but at the same time, yes, I don't think that we have something that says that the attack is imminent. It is possible. It's always possible. I mean, but nothing indicates that they're gonna do this tomorrow, for instance, or tonight.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I looking at it, I felt the same. Like a lot of people were asking me, like, "What do you think?" And I said, "You know what? I just don't see it yet, but it does look fishy. Obviously, it's very tense. So if they're not like about to invade tomorrow or whatever, what do you think they're actually doing? Why are they doing this right now?"
Well, I'm sticking to pretty unpopular, probably, opinion to Ukraine. Like I said, this time around, it's more about calculation and thoughts rather than emotions and fear. So what I see behind this, with all that said that we mentioned, so I consider this as a super effective intimidation campaign by the Kremlin because of many reasons. Because of the reasons that we have mentioned, that they pull troops in and out, very, very in your face, very demonstratively. And because, they always make sure that everybody sees this, it gets maximum media attention. So I believe this is clearly the intimidation campaign, because, as the first crisis has demonstrated, this tactic of breeding this war scare, of intimidation, it has become a super effective political tool of influence, mostly upon the West, to be honest. So and besides, if we in Ukraine, we have this tendency, sometimes people oppose me during interviews or clubhouse talks in this regard, but sometimes people oppose me, saying that you are being too rational about Kremlin, about the Russian barbaric nature. But sometimes we in Ukraine, it's not even sometimes, we often in Ukraine, we tend to oversimplify the decision-making process in the Kremlin, and also over personalize Vladimir Putin's role in this regard, and the scale of his personal control and power, and all of these things. We, in many ways, Ukrainian media reader lives in some kind of Austin Powers movie, to be honest. So it's not, I see that sometimes. For instance, I'm asking, well, if they invade, if they have all-out invasion, if we wake up to the sound of rolling thunder in the middle of the night because of Russian missiles, so what's the strategy? What's their plan? To invade, to possibly destroy the Ukrainian armed forces in a quick way, and then to take key cities under control, and to force the Ukrainian political leadership into some sort of political deal, maybe. But I mean, what's the price that they have to pay for such an operation? Lest we forget that Ukraine is not Georgia, and it's not Chechnya. Definitely, it's a huge country that is as huge as France, and it hosts something like 40 million people. I'm not even talking about the Ukrainian military being in a way better shape than what we had in back in 2014.
Oh yeah, it's like decades ahead now, right?
Oh yes, it is still flawed. It's still a mess. But the military is not only about this flawed system, but also about the people fighting. Oh, believe me, these people. You should not underestimate the military that's capable of sustaining the line for 8 years in Donbass. I mean, holding the line and without getting demoralized or drifting apart. I mean, without any hope of any military victory in the future. So they keep the system clean. And besides, I would not recommend underestimating the military that is fighting for their own homes. I mean, on their own soul. So this is not going to be something that is easy. This is, this task, invading Ukraine. It would require a giant military operation. It's like Iraq, probably, or even the scale of World War II. So it means that this is going to be like a super expensive operation in terms of political costs, economical costs, casualties, manpower. And we're not even talking about the Western reaction.
Let's talk about the Western reaction a little bit, because I've been kind of critical online of the US a little bit, because it seems to me like the US is almost lulling Ukraine into a kind of false sense of security. They're like, we will definitely not allow this, that, and the third. And then the other day they were like, well, if Russia does something, we're going to really, really reinforce the bases surrounding Ukraine. Essentially, they said, yeah, we're not actually going to help them in their country. Not saying like, Ukraine relies on the US, but certainly it's a big help for them. What do you think?
Well, I'm thinking about this too. Right now we're having probably Putin and Biden are just about to meet and talk about this thing. So we'll see what this brings. But yeah, in general, we have this general feeling in Ukraine about the West that the Western reaction is pretty weak in this regard.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. There's of course they contemplate sanctions and sending more weapons, but they are not what Biden says, what other leaders say. They are not concrete. They are not certain in their in sending messages to Putin in public space, at least in public space. Yeah, they have started moving in the right direction because they have promised to impose crushing sanctions on Russian elite, like SWIFT thing, to switch Russia off the SWIFT system.
The banking thing, yeah.
Yeah, the banking thing. So I believe the only option, the only way to effectively deter Russia is to show resolve, show readiness to help Ukraine, not in terms of issuing their concerns, but also doing some practical things, sending troops, sending weapons, promising to switch all the Russian billionaires off their billions in the West, because this is the key thing, because no matter what they say on the TV news, but the Kremlin inner circle, they prefer to live in the West, keep their families in the West, keep the money in the West, properties in the West, and meanwhile making money in Russia with all the corruption, and all the flawed systems. So this is the key leverage that the West has right now, because, like I said, nobody in the Kremlin wants to say goodbye to the billions in all the villas in Italy just because somebody wants to resurrect the Russian Empire of 1914. So like I said, we often tend to oversimplify, oversimplify the whole situation, and to pretend that we're living in some kind of Lord of the Rings universe. It's not that simple, people. So this is what I'm saying here in Ukraine often. Our enemy is evil, but they're not stupid, and they have to balance between their goals, actual goals, and the price that they would pay. So, with all that
Putin
said, I do not believe.
Stupid.
Yeah, definitely. So why can't we win if they are so stupid?
Yeah, I think the West has a real issue with this at the minute. They kind of create the Russia is the boogeyman. Everything bad happens in the West is somehow secretly Russia. And it's like, I agree with you. Like, okay, Russia, like Putin, the Kremlin is specifically devious, but definitely not stupid. I agree with you there. And I think maybe the full-on invasion would be a pretty stupid thing to do. Like you said, it would cost a fortune.
Yes, politically, we're not even talking, the Western reaction picture. Economically, the Russian economy being shattered.
Yeah.
And they can do that. And besides, I'm pretty sure that the West would do this because, it's just like a beginning level estimates that a full invasion would trigger the micro crisis of at least 2-3 million Ukrainians fleeing west from their cities. But I believe that's way too optimistic. I believe we in Donbass we had the local war in Donbass, and it drove at least 1 million people from the region in Ukraine and in Russia too. So a full-time operation the size of World War II would drive 10 million, I believe. Just imagine what's going to be on the Polish border. So the West definitely doesn't need like a Vietnam scale massacre here in Europe. So they will have to do this. I mean, just killing Russian economy, and everybody knows this. I'm pretty sure about this. And even in Russia, many analysts are talking about this. That other than straight conquest of Ukraine, they have so many instruments of influence. And besides, what's the actual price that they can get for such an effort? I mean, seriously, they have it hard to even sustain Donbass and Crimea. They spend $5 billion a year on Donbass alone, just to sustain the administration and the military thing. So, but imagine what's going to be the price for the whole of Ukraine. I mean, the much of Ukraine. In the situation of international isolation and economic sanctions. So no, people, let's be less emotional, more rational about this.
Yeah, I agree with you. One thing I can see being more likely though is the Russian-backed separatists being kind of pushed forward in the east. I mean, we're seeing in certain areas. I think it's
Dokuchevsk.
Yeah, Dokuchevsk. There you go. Yeah, like that area specifically is seeing a lot of shelling at the moment. Do you think it's more likely that that war with the separatists is going to get a lot hotter?
There are a couple of moments. By the way, Dokuchevsk is the city that is just next to my hometown in Donbass. I'm originally from Donbass, so it's just a next big city, more or less big city on the other side of the front line from my hometown, Volnovakha. So yeah, I know the city, I know the area. The terrain is super complicated for hostilities. So what I'm thinking about, this, people, it's what we are talking here in Ukraine is not necessarily about, like all-out war, like World War II thing with Russians, taking Kiev and Odessa. We're also considering scenarios for instance, like local escalation, similar what we had back in 2014. So that might be on the table. For instance, everything is possible right now. But if we are thinking serious about this, first thing is that the local militants, majority of them are locals, like local guys, like on the low level. I mean, the soldiers, personals, maybe sergeants. Gone are the days when the militant forces were formed by romantics, dreaming of like a great Russia or something, or being super evil about Ukraine, hating Ukraine. So many of them, these warlords, they have been assassinated or they killed in
Motorola, Givi, all of them guys.
Yeah. The times of them have gone dead and gone. It's not about the majority of Russian militant forces are just regular guys that have no chances to leave the occupied territories, and so they go and serve just to get some money and to sustain their families. As we call them, the people of 15,000 rubles, because this is how much they get a month, which is something like, I don't know, $300 maybe. I'm not sure what's the rate right now. So they are clearly not motivated to fight. I mean, it's not 2014 anymore. So they just stay there to hold the line, to do their job and get the money. I mean, most of them. So I do not expect them to be willing to die for, to Donbass if in terms of, huge escalation. So I would not count on that if I were a Russian military leader. But on the other side, again, sometimes when people call me, people say that I'm too rational about this. But then again, what if they launch a sort of escalation in Donbass to get something like the city of Mariupol, the port city in the south, or some other points? I see no point in that, just because, like I said, we should not underestimate our enemy being rational about their goals and things that they need. Let's get back to the history of the Battle of Debaltseve, after which we had this second peace agreement signed in Minsk. That was early February 2015. So as we all know, in February, politicians signed the ceasefire agreement in Minsk, but the hostilities continued. I remember that day. The ceasefire was supposed to be announced on midnight, and after something like 30 minutes of silence, hostilities resumed again. It's 30 minutes maybe. Why did they do this? Just because they needed the city of Debaltseve to be seized and taken under their control, just because it's like a giant railroad hub. You gotta have this.
Yeah.
If you need to sustain the logistics and also the connections with Russia and between two regions, Donetsk and Luhansk. So they were rational about their necessity to take this. So they went on. Right now, I see no point in moving forward, given the ultimate goal, which is to inflict an uncurable wound on Ukraine that dries out our economy and also blocks our approachment to NATO. So right now we have no chances of joining NATO because of occupied territories and stuff. So I see no point in them. So back in the day, in 2014, 15, when the army was disorganized, when the whole political system was shattered because of revolution, we all know the story. So they stopped at doing what they did back in the day, in those 8 years, like a proxy invasion, the use of separatists, of mercenaries, and the very limited employment of regular military forces when they had to. It's Ilovaisk, the Battle of Debaltseve, for instance. And back in those days, they deliberately decided to leave some space, for some kind of a deal with the West, probably in the future. It's all about Crimea. They were pretty delicate about this, just because they cannot afford going way too much in this. So they had to leave some space for a deal, which is what they do. So back 8 years ago, they could not afford, seizing the whole of Ukraine. So now it's even less affordable to them. So that's why I do not believe we should expect anything bigger than that. What could have been done and what they could afford has been done in 2014 and 15. But that said, I keep saying this, I keep talking about this in interviews, that no matter what happens, we in Ukraine, we need to keep building the best military possible in absolutely any case. This is the 100% strategy for us.
Yeah. There was this weird situation where Zelensky, the prime minister of Ukraine, he was saying that Russia was plotting some kind of coup, right? And they like arrested. Like, what is that about?
Well, this guy, Zelensky, Zelensky is kind of a guy who loves to be presented as president.
Yeah.
He loves this leadership. He loves this glory. He loves being shown on TV, but he's not a super huge fan of working as a president.
Yeah.
So this is all about him. I meet him all the time. So it just screams this matter. He enjoys being a president, but not working as a president. So yes, and besides, he is very prone to influence of his entourage. For instance, Andriy Yermak, his chief of staff, he always has some kind of a guy who whispers on his ear things that not many people can understand. So probably he's very prone to rumors. Let's put it so. And he definitely did the stupid thing by saying this aloud during the press conference in late November. So everybody was confused, just like you are. So he promised, he not promised, he declared that a coup might happen on December the 1st. Obviously, nothing happened.
But there were protests, though, right? Like anti, but not a coup, right? They were organic.
Definitely not. Well, that's almost indistinguishable from what's happening in downtown Kiev in any given day. So we're full-time protesters, in Kiev.
Yeah.
Just go to Maidan, you will see. It's been quite a while since I visited Maidan. Several months maybe. So I'm not much of a goer to Maidan, but I saw the rallies of entrepreneurs protesting against taxes, I guess, or some tax regulations, and probably in summertime. And I recently visited the Maidan Square again, and I saw the same thing on the same banners, still rallying for the same thing. So it's
just
not
people
about,
pissed off with the government, basically.
Yeah, it's just like I said, we are pretty full-time protesters. So
no, I think that's great about Ukraine. Actually, like you guys don't let them rest. Don't let them rest for a second.
Yeah, but to put it shortly, sometimes Zelensky says and does stupid things that a vice leader should be silent about.
Yeah.
And so he gets us so many reasons to ridicule him sometimes. That's no sincere mind can understand sometimes him.
Yeah. All right, mate. I know you're in a rush, but do you want to explain your new project briefly? Because we got a lot of listeners down here, and I think a lot of people would like to hear about the Kiev Independent. Obviously, it came off the back of the problems with the Kiev Post.
So what happened? Like back in 2018, we got a new publisher. His name is Adnan Kivan, and he is one of the top construction tycoons in this country. He is the top construction developer in the city of Odessa, the southern port. So apparently the guy wanted to expand his business in Kiev. So first thing he did was he purchased a newspaper, which is us, the Kiev Post, one of the most respected and basically the only large English language publication in Ukraine that is pretty popular among diplomatic missions, politicians, lawmakers, the military. So that was something that we perceived as his image purchase. Let's put it that way. So we knew that the new owner has he owns Channel 7 in Odessa, and also a news website that are absolutely not independent. So they basically serve his business interests and his personal ego. So we had a deal with him. We had him on the paper saying that I promise to keep the editorial independence of Kiev Post untouched, not to meddle, not to interfere. So I do understand that I can't run the Kiev Post newspaper, which is praised for its independence and its quality. The same way I manage my TV channels, for instance, in back in Odessa. So we were ready to fight for this independence because this is the way we sustain. Because without this independence, we would lose support from embassies, from politicians, because we were pretty popular and people knew that they can trust us. Without this, no way.
But the next 3 years went on with the several crises, as I put it this way, over the publisher's desire or him being not happy about what things that we write about this editorial independence. So he would often complain that what we write, we were being, for instance, critical of authorities. So he would often complain that we write things that hurt him and hurt this newspaper. So he was not happy about this. So we know for sure that, for instance, the Prosecutor General of Ukraine, once upon a time, she called our chief editor, Brian Bonner, to her office and also slammed him for what we're writing about her. So we had this sort of pressure upon ourselves and upon the owner. But on November 8th, that was just nothing but a usual Monday. We came to the office, and I'll put it with my own perspective. So just a Monday morning, and I'm trying to put a story on the COVID situation. We have this like a daily routine stories about what's happening with the COVID things. So that was my day to put a story. So I did a story. I'm trying to save it from the news Kyiv Post website dashboard. So I'm trying to do this, but I can't for some reason. And the website stopped listening to me, stopped responding to me for some reason. I believe that was a glitch, but that wasn't a glitch. So we were stripped of control of our website quietly. On that day, the morning meeting starts, and what Brian Bonner does is he says that, guys, sorry, I did what I could, but this newspaper is no more. I was given an order to shut this newspaper down. No printed issues, no pictures, no stories, no nothing. Starting from today, you guys are all fired, including myself.
Jesus.
Starting from today, and you got to leave the premises, the office. Starting from today, guys, sorry. I did what I could, but I failed. So yes, everybody was fired without notice, without a warning, and the publisher presented this as that his desire to relaunch the Kyiv Post to make it bigger and better, and that's why he fired all the journalists and all the stuff. Not excluding anyone. So it totally makes sense, right? So we did try to save the newspaper. We had 2 rounds of negotiations with the publisher on the phone. The whole newsroom, the journalists talking to him over the phone. 2 instances of that. So what we suggest is that if he's not happy about us, about the pressure from authorities because of us, he can either sell the newspaper to a willing buyer, and we will find a willing buyer for him, or he can let us use the brand, because the brand is super precious in this regard. The Kyiv Post brand is super popular among the people that make decisions. So what was behind this brand is 26 years of hard work of journalism, and also good name, the brilliant reputation in Ukraine. So we wanted to save it no matter what. The answer was no. The guy wanted to keep exploiting the brand, and also to hire another journalist, like probably more obedient journalists, but he wanted to keep using the brand. So we failed to persuade him, and the fact that this is going to be like a disaster, this is going to be a scandal, which it was, a worldwide scandal. And this is going to be a huge reputational blow upon him, which it was. So we failed to do that. So what we did is we decided to stay together, something like 30 journalists from all around the world. The United States, Britain, Japan, Ukraine, Russia, France. Like I said, the young team of people from all around the world. We decided to stay together, to stay loyal to these values that we were trained with, and to establish something new, because we had tremendous support from the audience. I'll give you a couple of statistics. Within 7 days, we launched the Patreon thing. And within something like 6 or 7 days, we got more than 500 patrons, which is exceptional for Ukraine. I mean, most of Ukrainian independent media, they have something like 80, 90, 100 patrons, and they're happy about this. We got more than, I believe that's close to 600 right now, within less than a week. Or we also launched the GoFundMe thing. We also crowdfunded something like 10,000 pounds sterling within 5-6 days.
That's excellent.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like that. You know, it's been almost a month. Yes. Almost a month since we were fired, but we keep giving interviews each and every day from all across the world. We lose count at 200 as we were counting stories about us from all across the world.
So the Kiev Independent, right? You've all come together. You've formed this new thing. It's basically based on the kind of ethics and the ethos and open reporting that you had at the Kiev Post, but now you're doing it independently.
Yeah, this is exactly what happens. I'm not sure what's the date, but I think a week after the whole thing started, we had a story. I wrote a story for the British Journal, The New Statesman, I guess is the name.
Yeah.
So, and the story, the headline simply says what we believe in. Just we could not save the Kiev Post, but we can save its values, which is exactly what's happening.
Well, good luck with it, man. It's really good to hear that people in Ukraine care about proper independent reporting still. Where can people find your new project, and where can they follow your work?
We have a full-fledged website right now. It's just kievindependent.com.
So it's kievindependent.com, and it's Kiev spelled the proper way, Kyiv, not K-I-E-V. Yeah. All right, man. We'll definitely put that out, and I hope people come through.
Sure. Thanks.
Thanks for your time, man. Speak to you soon. That was journalist Illia Ponomarenko talking about the possible invasion that everyone seems to be talking about right now, where everyone's worried that Russia might soon invade Ukraine. As we said in the piece, kind of both of us agree we don't think they're actually going to. Maybe we'll be completely wrong, who knows? You can never really predict things with war, especially when countries like Russia are involved. It's a very tense situation either way. Like Ilya said, check his work out at the kievindependent.com, or if you want to follow him on Twitter, his Twitter is IA Ponomarenko, so that's IAPONOMARENKO. Check him out. He's keeping everybody updated on the situation on the front lines and the political situation in Ukraine right now. If you like what we're doing here at Popular Front, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/popularfront. That is the main way we make money. We have been censored off of YouTube. We're not allowed to advertise there, despite some of our documentaries having more than 2.5 million views. We make no money from that. We're not allowed to promote our stuff on Instagram either. We can't make any money that way. So the way we make money, because we refuse corporate investment, is on the Patreon. Patreon.com/popularfront. There's loads of extras there. £5 a month, £10 a month, whatever. You get access to the community Discord, monthly bonus episodes that are only on the Patreon. There's all sorts there. Check it out. Patreon.com/popularfront. Or if you want to support us in another way via crypto or whatever, go to popularfront.co/support. You will see all of the details there. This episode was sponsored by Oracle Coffee Shop in Portland, Oregon, USA. They're an independent coffee shop, coffee business, selling only fair trade products. See them at 3875 South West Bond Avenue, 97239. The episode was also sponsored by our friends at Grind Core House. That's a pair of independent coffee shops in Philadelphia, USA, one in South, one in West. Find them on socials at Grind Core House. The episode was also sponsored by Propagandopolis, an outlet selling and writing about historical conflict propaganda from around the world. You can buy prints at propagandopolis.com. Use promo code POPULARFRONT10 for 10% off. If you want to advertise with us and you're ethical, you're independent, let us know. You can email me at hanrahan@pm.me. So HANRAHAN @pm.me. We have over 3 million unique downloads. We get a lot of listeners. So if you're interested and you think that will match up, drop me a line. If you want to follow us on social media, watch our documentaries, youtube.com/popularfront, Instagram @popular.front, Twitter @popularfront_. Just check our website out at popularfront.co. Remember as well to follow our backup account on the Instagram, because we're threatened with being deleted every single week, basically because we show the news through an unfiltered way, and we believe that it's important to show the world the real aspects of war and conflict as it is. So follow the backup at popularfront_. Music in this episode: the intro was by Home and the outro was by Sam Black. Check Sam's music out at samblackpf.com. Sam is a massive part of Popular Front. Without him, we wouldn't be able to do this, so definitely check his music out, share it, everything like that. samblackpf.com. Thank you very much to the higher tier patrons. Without you, this would not be possible. I mean it. Thanks for staying with us all of this time. Really do appreciate it. There's big things coming next year. Thank you to RA, Champagne Anarchist, Thwat, Elise Middlefar, Jess, Louis, David McManus, Joaquin Williamson Holt, Yudoye Travis. Check him out, he's a comedian. I was looking on his Instagram the other day, he's very funny. Check him out, Yudoye Travis. Thank you to Tom Petrie, James Leons, Kate, Lisa Milgram. Excuse me, sorry, I'm dying. I'm really ill, apologies. Bradley Davies, Brendan Crave, Pete Hesher, X, A. Nicole, Travis Lieberman, Cherry, Ben Marshall, Dallas Dunn, LD50 Seattle, excuse me, MJ, K. Glitter Vulcan, Meredith Waters, Bethany Swoveland, Adam H, Karante, Bjorn Kirsten, Diamond Steen, Michael O'Connor, Zach Picard, Todd Cravens, Nicholas Butter, Ron Swanson, JD, Jav, Ian Frois, James Cully, Tynan Daly, Ethan, Fitz Madrid, Ed Coulthard, Mike Barone, Ben, Liam Williams, Chris Cusimano, Degenerate Zero Alpha, Giorgio Arani, DR, Trey Nance, Amy R, Rubicon, Frank Austin, Amelia Me, Nawaiz, Nate Van Dor, Christina Rivetti, Freya Northman, Ali Hunter, Andrew Hurley, Vida Provost, Brian McLaughlin, Tom Lochrin, Young Wasabi, sorry, Tony Bin, Adam Bergsnyder, JL, Stephen Davila, Anthony Kabarak, Dan Dunham, Fletcher, Diana Gorvanek, Lawrence Abrahams, Peter McCormick from What Bitcoin Did, Axel Iverson, Christopher Martin at Shady Project, Ryan Sandercock, and Moritz Zumbul. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. Without you lot, this would not be moving as fast as it is. Trust me, next year we're doing a lot. It's going to be really good. Thanks.